Hi, everybody. I think I'm the only person here right now. Ciao, Jeff. Thank you for joining us. Wine Wednesday. We're waiting for our special guest. For those of you who are joining from New York, you might know this is the time when it's cheering outside because it is 7 p.m. and 7 p.m. means we clap for our first responders around New York. Ciao, Alex!
Hi!
Thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I was just telling everybody joining us at the moment that the clapping and the cheering outside is not for me.
Oh, how dare they?
I know, they're cheering for our first responders. So everyone, let's give a round of applause for all those first responders every day at 7. So, hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on this week's edition of Wine Wednesday. I am Michelle Erland, an account executive at Colangelo and Partners Public Relations, and I am super excited to introduce you to our special guest, Sommelier Alex Harner. Alex, thank you for being here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great given the circumstances. Wine obviously helps.
Wine does help. I mean, mostly because it keeps us connected, right? Wine, I mean, even during these crazy times, we can keep traveling through wine, through our senses. And I mean, these virtual happy hours have taken off across the globe. It's incredible. I mean, my 80-year-old aunt is doing Zoom happy hours.
I love
really,
it.
It's amazing. So everybody who's joined us tonight, we're going to start. Get yourself a glass of your favorite wine before we get started with our interview. And cheers to all of you for joining us.
Cheers.
Chin. So, Alex, you are a woman that wears many hats. You are a wine writer, an influencer, as well as a sommelier. But today, we're here to talk about your role as Senior Sales Manager of Benchmark Wine Group. You are the person who buys and curates all the selections for benchmarkwine.com wine club. Is this correct?
That's me.
Wow, that seems like an incredible position. Can you tell us a little bit about Benchmark Wine Group?
Yeah, so Benchmark is an online wine retailer that specializes in fine and rare and back vintage wines. We're based in Napa Valley, but we have clientele all across the world. And although we specialize in, back vintage and high-end wine, we also carry more current vintages of smaller production producers. And that's where the wine club comes into play.
Great. Well, it's funny that we are talking about the wine club tonight because since I started studying wine 10 plus years ago, I feel like everyone from my past lives, high school, college, family, friends, have all at some point messaged me the same question. It's, should I join a wine club, and which wine club do I suggest? And to be honest, even though I was a sommelier, I mean, I wasn't sure, so I would always recommend the route that they go visit some wineries in Napa. I know, Larkmead has a wine club, or here in New York, I'm on the East Coast. The Long Island wineries have wine clubs. But we're talking about something different tonight. We're talking about a wine club that's curated by a professional. So being that you are the expert, should people be a part of a wine club, and what are the benefits?
Yeah, I mean, so the obvious benefit to joining a wine club is that it takes out all the guesswork, right? So, it's such a crowded marketplace out there. There's endless options in terms of varieties, regions, styles. There's always a new, fun, cool producer coming out. So it can make it really challenging for the consumer and overwhelming for them to feel like they're making the right decision in terms of their wine selection. But with a wine club, of course, you can be rest assured most of the time that you're getting a curated selection from a wine professional. And plus it gets delivered to your door. So,
I mean, that's what we all need right now, of course. So yeah, earlier today on the Benchmark Wine Group Instagram page, they asked some questions. And we had some consumers came and asked if Benchmark Wine Group offers wines in their wine club from different producers, and also is the value for them to be in the wine club better versus buying the bottles on their own? So can you answer that question from the Instagram page?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, most of the wines that we select, they're all different. They're not something that, as I said, these are wines that I'm sourcing specifically for the club. So you get that kind of added benefit. Plus, you get the benefit of, you know, our tasting notes and a little more in-depth information on the wine. But you can certainly buy the wine on your own if you would like, but you're kind of missing out on all the special details of these producers and, you know, maybe being introduced to a variety or region you've never had before. So
great. So we just have one of our viewers chiming in. What wine club are we talking about? So we're talking about tonight the wine club that benchmarkwine.com has to offer. And Alex, can you walk us through the different tiers of the wine club that you guys offer?
yeah, so we have 3 different levels. The first level is the drinkers level. This is obviously all wines are meant for drinking, but these are specifically more easygoing wines. And they're usually in the price range of around, I would say, $25 a bottle, give or take. And we usually have a range of like 3 to 4 per month for that level. Then the next one up is the crus, as in Premier Cru. So these are meant to be wines that are slightly more elevated. So that could mean anything from comes from a single vineyard, or it's a super tiny production. You know, anything that kind of makes a wine just slightly more elevated. Of course, the price range, of course, is elevated. It is usually around $35 a bottle. And also we have a range of 3 to 4 bottles in that club level as well. And then the last one is the collector's level. And this is obviously more high-end selection. So this is wines in the $75 to $120 a bottle. And usually there's around 3 of those. Of course, these are meant for, you know, more special occasions or for your cellar, or, you know, these days maybe for Wednesday night.
Or for one Wednesday, we're ready.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so here's the $1 million question, right? You are the curator, you're the wine buyer. How do you cherry pick the perfect wines for all your palates across the world? I mean, how do you ensure the satisfaction of so many people?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it can be a challenge sometimes to not pick wines that I just know I'll like. Because, you know, there may be certain styles or flavor profiles that I know I like, but others may not. So it's important for me to make sure that I'm selecting wines that I know that our clientele will also enjoy. But the main thing I look for in a wine is, you know, is it balanced? Is it sound? And is it delicious? But also, I mean, I really love, one of the things I love about this industry is introducing clients to something different and new that they've never had before. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. And with the club, I can get kind of creative and have some fun with it. So for instance, California Pinot Noir is usually a crowd pleaser. Everyone loves those kind of like juicy, easygoing flavor profiles of California Pinot Noir. So I can go, okay, what is it about California Pinot Noir? What can I find that is similar, you know, to a California Pinot Noir, but that is maybe from a region that they've never heard of before, or even a different variety. So that's where I get to have a little bit of fun.
That's awesome. So we have some viewers asking us, what are we drinking? So I think that we should go through our first wine. Tonight, Alex put together a flight of wines, a sparkling and a red for both of us. Alex, do you want to walk us through your sparkling of what you're drinking?
Yeah, so this is the, I don't know if you can see this. This is the AT Roca. This is actually a sparkling wine from the Penedès region in Spain. This is a you know, pretty small production. It's a joint venture between a larger cava house, actually, called Agustí Torello, and another winemaker in the area. And with this wine, the whole thing that makes it special is that they're really kind of focusing on terroir here. So it's the classic cava varieties, which are Xarello, Macabeo, and Pereira, and it's made in a traditional sense. But their whole focus for this wine is, all about the terroir of the Penedès region. So I've actually picked this. This is an upcoming wine club wine. I picked it for obviously the story, and then of course it's a delicious wine. It's super great value for the price, and it's super dry. I'm gonna sip it now.
Yeah, we had an amazing tasting this past fall for wines of Spain, and I was so impressed at all of the amazing wine selections coming out of Spain. It really is a great region.
Yeah, definitely.
That bottle
very dear to my heart, Spain.
Yeah. About how much is that bottle that you have?
This bottle, I believe, now don't quote me on this, I might be off on this price point, but I'm pretty sure it's around $25 a bottle, I would say.
Right.
It's in the drinkers level.
Amazing. So I also asked you to curate a flight for me, and I was looking for wines that were balanced, that offered super high value and super high quality. And I mean, super low value, I'm sorry, super high quality. And so I have the Louis Roederer Brut Premier Champagne. And typically everyone from my Instagram who knows, you can find me usually in the Italian wine selection. So having you curate a flight for me was really great for me to go revisit some classics and also get to know some new wines. This wine is really one of my favorite champagnes. It is family owned still to this day. It is their house champagne. It is the classic signature blend of Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, Pinot Meunier. I mean, even though, like I said, it is their entry level, this is the house that makes Cristal, and this is their entry level Brut, but it is top quality for the value. About $45 in the local store. And talk about traveling through your senses. I mean, this wine for me really gives me such a sense of place. And there's this perfect balance between the terroir and the purity of fruit. I mean, at first there is this sweet citrus, minor lemon that intertwines really nicely with the white flowers. And I mean, on the palate, I get this slight dusting of the oyster shell, almost crushed, that is such respect for the terroir, that chalky soil of Champagne. I mean, really such a great, complex wine. We have a question from Jules Colangelo.
Hi,
what foods do you like to pair best with bubbles?
I mean,
I'll let you go first, Alex.
So the obvious answer would be French fries, or anything fried, really. I, though, am such a sucker for French fries and champagne. I sometimes will go to there's a local restaurant here in Napa that's Bistro Gentil, and they make such delicious fries. And sometimes I'll just go there and just order champagne and French fries, and that'll kind of be dinner. Oysters as well, depending on the champagne. But yeah, usually anything fried is what I go for.
So I have to agree with some of our viewers. I think that everything goes with champagne. I really can't find anything that doesn't. But one of my favorite pairings is popcorn and champagne. I just love it. So great. Let's go back to talking a little bit about, your day-to-day and what you do. With so many different wines out there, I mean, as the buyer and the curator, what do you look for in a wine? What catches your eyes?
Yeah. So, I mean, as you said, there's so many different options out there and so many different wines. But for me, the main focus is trying to find something unique about a wine. So that could be anything from, does it come from an up-and-coming region, or does it, is it made with a variety that I've never heard of before? Maybe it's a tiny indigenous variety, and somewhere in Italy they have thousands of indigenous varieties, and there's always new ones being discovered or resurrected. Or it could be, maybe their vineyard, or maybe their vineyard is farmed biodynamically, or are they using sustainable practices? Are they organic? These are all things that really intrigue me. And I mean, really, the bottom line is the most important thing to me is the story and making sure that that's translated to the consumer. I mean, as the closer that we can make the consumer feel to the people behind the label and the story behind the label, the better. That's my job.
Exactly. And I think that is so important, especially right now, is that, you know, we're all connected virtually and sharing, you know, wine and food. We're all connecting to the story and each other. And it's great. So listen, here's a question that, you know, you used to work on the floor as a som. I used to work on the floor as a som back in the day. And people always, one of the hardest things were to sell wine to people that maybe necessarily didn't have a lot of wine knowledge. So how do you curate a wine flight for people that don't necessarily have the wine knowledge or know what to ask for?
Yeah. I mean, wine terminology can be a challenge sometimes because there's so many different languages that we use to describe wine, and even, you know, as professionals, we may have you know, different backgrounds in terms of how we studied. So even professionals, sometimes we may not see eye to eye in terms of how we're describing specific wines or flavor profiles. So the first thing, honestly, that I usually ask for is what is your go-to wine? And ideally, they have a specific producer that they can pinpoint, like, oh, I always buy, you know, XYZ at the grocery store. And then I can kind of dissect, okay, what is their style? And then maybe, you know, steer them towards something else that they might enjoy based off of that. But oftentimes it's just, you know, I like Chardonnay. So from there, I have to then kind of go down, okay, the rabbit hole of, all right, so what about Chardonnay do you like? Do you like, do you know if you like oak Chardonnay or stainless steel Chardonnay? Do you like, you know, buttery flavors, richer toasty flavor profiles, or do you like leaner, crisper styles? So it's all about kind of getting as close to understanding what their preferences are as possible.
Exactly. So we actually have a lot of old floor soms in the chat right now. The Lush Life, Sarah Tracy, who used to be a som on the floor back when I was on a som on the floor, she said being a som on the floor is like being a detective. And I think the way you described it is absolutely correct.
It's true.
It is. Great. Should we move on to our next wine, our red wine?
Yes, definitely.
All right. So why don't you walk us through what you selected for yourself?
Okay. So this, I don't know, here. This is the Pure Coton. It's a Beaujolais. This is their village level Beaujolais. So it's 100% Gamay. This is made with a semi-carbonic method. It's a pretty small producer, definitely up and coming. This comes from a tiny vineyard. I think it's like an acre only. But I chose this wine for the wine club, not just because of the story and also the label is super cool, which helps.
Yes, people are commenting on it as well.
Isn't it fantastic? All of their wines look like this. They're such great wines. But yeah, honestly, it's super just juicy, refreshing, easygoing. I don't know if you can tell, but I actually put it in the fridge because I like my Beaujolais, especially the less serious, you know, structured Beaujolais, to be slightly chilled. Yeah, it's super fruit forward. It's, as I said, super easygoing and just like chuggable.
Amazing. So for my red, I'm also in France, and you have chosen for me the 2010 Chateau Rama Fort. We are in the Medoc of Bordeaux. Something that's super special about this wine is this is actually a Cru Bourgeois, Cru Bourgeois right here. If you see this on the label, this is definitely a wine to pick up. I mean, Cru Bourgeois wine is a Bordeaux wine from the region's famous left bank that was not included in the, famous Grand Cru classification of 1855 that everyone knows, with the first gross, the second gross, that really changed only, I think, twice in history, if I'm correct, and my songs back in the. But I mean, unlike that 1855 classification, where it's based on houses, and unlike, in Brittany, where we have a classification based on the vineyards, here, this is a classification that's based on the wine. and it is changing every single year. The wine has to be taste tested by professionals. It has to be high, super high quality and at a great value. Usually it's between $20 and $40. And I mean, it's simply stunning. At first, the tasting notes, I am struck with this really beautiful, ripe, dark fruit. I mean, blackberry, a deep plum. It really is beautiful on the nose. And then, I get these violets. They're slightly fresh, but there's also a little bit of dried violets. And I think that's an indication of the fact that they are, 10 years old now. Mm-hmm. This is about a 50-50 blend of Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. The Cabernet Sauvignon is on the gravel soil and the Merlot is on the lime soil. I mean, simply stunning combination. They complement each other. The tannins are really silky and smooth, and the structure is really there. You can put it away for years, or you can enjoy it like I am right now.
Nice. Yeah, there's some really exciting wines coming out of Cru Bourgeois right now.
Yes. So we have another question. So Michelle Wig Classic. I am classic. I've done earrings for you guys tonight. And Alex, more New Guard, and your outfits and backgrounds match. Juliana, yes.
Oh my God.
Did, right? Not on purpose, though, right? Not on purpose.
No.
Yes. So yeah, we're curious. You guys saw what we're drinking. What are you guys drinking tonight?
Yeah, tell us.
Let's hear from the viewers.
Let me pull this up.
What is going on out there? Let's see. Ciao, Ricardo. What are you drinking tonight? I guess no one's drinking anything.
I know. Come on, guys, get with it. It's
Ciao. Yeah, so we have a few. Oh, Chenin Blanc. Juliana's drinking Chenin Blanc, and Stefan is drinking just natural talent. Wow, Stefan. What else? We have Ruby Primo 2017. Wow. This is a very skilled group here.
Oh, yeah.
Someone's drinking what Alex is drinking.
Love it.
Love it. We have Sarah Tracy's drinking Charles Krug Cabernet Sauvignon 2016. Actually, and benchmarkwine.com has some Charles Krug.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If you can too, if you can snag up, every once in a while we have some from the 60s, and that usually goes pretty quick, but
yeah,
it's very exciting when we see older stuff like that.
So listen, as a wine buyer, right, what kind of trends have you noticed lately? I mean, is Zinfandel really making a comeback? What do you see out there?
I feel like there are a lot of varieties that are making comebacks, even some, some lesser known stuff, like even the Mission grape, they're I mean, that's super old school, and that's making a huge comeback. I don't know if you've ever had some of the Mission varieties coming out of Baja. I mean, there's some amazing, unique stuff happening. Obviously the big trend right now, although I hate to call it a trend, but natural wine is definitely a big thing. People are definitely more in tune with where their wines are coming from and how the wines are being made, and are definitely more interested in
and I think that's great because having again a professional curating your wine club, we're sharing the story so people can really understand the origin of this wine. I mean, we have this amazing champagne. This is a family owns house, and people start to learn about all these products and they become more connected with them. I think that's the beauty of having a sommelier or access to one. We also have some rosé drinkers. Ellie is drinking some Domaine Haute rosé. I mean, it is the season, right?
It is. It's getting warmer by the day.
Amazing. We have another question. Alex, how did you get into wine?
Actually kind of in a roundabout way. I'm from California, so I feel like it's kind of was in my blood already. Like, my parents always enjoyed wine. They weren't like, big winos or anything, but they were always big wine lovers and made trips up to Napa and stuff like that. But I didn't really get into wine until I moved to New York. So I moved to New York actually to pursue a career in dance. And then, you know, as performers do, I ended up usually working mostly in hospitality in some capacity. So I was always leaning towards, you know, more like wine related restaurants and wine bars and things like that. And the more I worked there and kind of like faked my way through talking to people about wine, even though I didn't know anything about it, I was like, hey, I kind of like this. And wine's a lot more romantic and interesting than I thought. So I eventually kind of transitioned from being a dancer to working in retail and restaurants, and that's kind of the short version of how I ended up in the wine industry. So
amazing. I think the wine industry has such diverse backgrounds, right?
Yeah.
So let's have a few more questions. Does the wine club come with anything other than wine? Like, you know, do you send information cards? Is there a community where people can reach out to you?
Yeah, so obviously if you have any questions, since I curate it, you can always email me. Happy to share that information later on the feed. But in terms of what comes with the club, we don't have anything else other than wine, but we do always curate a selection of tasting notes that go out every month with the club, as well as pictures and things like that. So there's definitely, and pairings, of course, with the tasting notes. So that's always included.
Great. Before we close out today, our conversation went so fast.
I know.
One more time, I just want to show everyone the wines that we've been drinking. So yes, I have the Brut Premier, Champagne, very accessible, all over the United States, all over the world. Because I did see someone's chiming in from Brazil, so ciao. I speak Italian to everybody. And then we have the Cru Bourgeois Chateau Rama from the Medoc 2010 in the Bordeaux region. Would you like to show what you have tasted tonight?
So I was sipping on the AT Roca. It's a sparkling wine from the Penedès region in Spain. Very dry, very crispy, very crunchy. Then I was sipping on the Pierre Coton Beaujolais Gamay wine here. It's delicious. Super easygoing.
Wonderful. Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's tuned in tonight for our dynamic conversation with Alex from Benchmark Wine Group and this lovely tasting that we had. Please, please, please be sure to check out the wine club options on benchmarkwine.com. And don't forget to drop by next week for a new hashtag Wine Wednesday coming your way on Instagram Live. Everyone be safe. Cheers.
Cheers.
See you soon.
Bye.
Ciao.